Hey everybody, it is Kodey Stoffer with the Playmakers Corner podcast here, and we got our longtime tradition, top 5 senior series here, where we go through every single position here on PMC for the class of whatever that senior is, seniors of 2025 on this one here, and we digest and dissect the film here and grade them, and then have a cumulative score. We got Mason Austin back in the fold, so we got one more grader here for 3 of us evaluating all these players, and this week it is cornerbacks. So we evaluated at least 15 corners here. This includes even more if you include us watching over the course of the season, going to games and stuff like that. We were always watching them in person, and we've been watching a few of these guys for a few years now, and we're able to find out about them through different routes or means or stuff like that. So it's been really fun looking into this cornerback class, and we have a brand new rubric system as well. This one has weighted categories, meaning some categories are more important than others as far as the total points. I'm going to go over those now. So frame and versatility, those are out of 10 across every single prospect. That is regardless of position, as versatility just makes you more recruitable, and having a good frame for whatever positions that you're at is certainly going to help. So those are out of 10. And then for cornerbacks, our other ones that are out of 10 points are agility, which is hip mobility and footwork, speed, man-to-man coverage, and zone coverage, right? So the coverages and your athleticism are the big points, right? That makes up 60 points. All the other categories are out of 5 points and include tackling, anticipation, that being breaking on balls / routes, batting balls and whatnot, play recognition, jump ball contest, ball skills, leverage, run game defend, and pass breakup ability here. So little nuanced differences between each of these categories, but I think it made for a very good evaluation system here. And I'm very excited to share the top 5 PMC guys here. This 5th guy here made it above the next guys by 0.3 of a decimal, or 0.4 of a decimal above some of the next guys here. So pretty talented class here. We have 4 prospects that graded above an average of 80, which is like 3 stars here. 70s is 2 stars. Some of these guys are high 70s as well, so upper 2.5 to almost 3-star here, and then one very solid 3-star. So I'm very excited to go over this, and without further ado, I think that I'm going to jump into it, just kind of going through who our 5th ranking is, kind of everybody's scores, and then kind of a summary that is typed up as an assessment of each of these players. So let's go ahead and jump into our number 5 cornerback of the class of 2025 is JoJo Hernandez out of Regis Jesuit High School here. He is listed at 6 foot, 180 pounds here, and his cumulative PMC grade was 78.65, courtesy of an 80.5 from Coach V, a 79.2 from Mason, and a 76.25 from myself. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that we like out of JoJo here. Look, for me, versatile, and he is fast. I gave him a speed grade of 8.9. I think that his speed is incredibly apparent here. The first play on his highlight reel is a big interception, and the next one is a smooth interception that he returns for a nice chunk. And you could see the versatility as well that I have graded at an 8.5. Pretty high here. He's an incredibly fast receiver. He runs a blazing go route, and as far as versatility goes, he also shows some looks at safety and, just has some very interesting looks, honestly. He's also pretty good in zone coverage here. I think he reads the field very well. His zone coverage for me was an 8.6, and he has some pretty good physicality to add on to it. He could get good looks at corner or safety, but I think that his speed is what makes him kind of a higher upside at corner, being able to utilize that for recovery speed and just kind of adapt on that side of the football, honestly. Some other categories that I liked, I gave his agility an 8.5. I gave his anticipation a 3.95, and his ball skills a 3.8. Those are out of 5 for those who are forgetting, so those are still pretty high grades here. Dialing over to Mason here, gave him a cumulative grade of 79.2. And he just said his coverages are solid, definitely better in zone. And he said he seems to never press, but it just might be a scheme thing over at Regis. But overall, great heads up IQ player that is pretty lights out. He definitely thinks a red shirt is in his future here. Some of his grades were 8.6 versatility, 8.7 agility, 8.6 speed, 8.7 zone coverage. So just a huge fan of those aspects of his game. Gave his ball skills a 4.2, his leverage a 3.9, and overall gave him a 79.2. And then if you jump over to Coach V here, Coach V gave him an 80.5. Versatility, he gave him a 9. Agility, 8.7. Speed, 8.6. Anticipation, 4.25. That translates to about an 8.5 if you inflate that category to 10 points. Man-to-man, 8. Zone coverage, 8.7. And then a 4 in a couple of other categories out of 5, like 4 out of 5 play recognition, 4.25 ball skills, stuff like that. He said, quote, he's a great athlete that probably could have been better utilized on offense. On defense, he has some good speed and agility that make him tough to keep off a college field. He played in a lot of zone this year and may even be a better safety, but there's no doubt that he has the athletic ability to play corner. Hernandez is also at a solid frame at 6 foot 180. So that's kind of Coach V's outlook here on JoJo. Those are all the things that we like. Now, as far as things that we would like to see him improve on, Coach V is already talking about it, saying, quote, I'd like to see him continue to work on putting weights and becoming a bigger force in stopping the run. I think getting stronger is key to that, as well as improving that play recognition. Watching him live in his film, I think there are times he thinks he knows what the play is, but will not jump the route or play it way too safe. Athletic ability, I think he's an FCS guy, but his play recognition and run stopping ability will hold him back for now, end quote. So his run game defend for Simon is at a 3.5 out of 5. And his play recognition still out of 4. He also has his jump ball contest at a 3 and his tackling at a 3. The tackling and jump ball contest, I think both kind of attest to the physicality that JoJo could work on that could benefit from getting a little bit more weight. And those are both the lowest out of anybody in those categories of our top 5 players here. For Mason, his lower grades, he also gave him a 3.1 on tackling and a 3.8 on play recognition and a 2.9 on jump ball contest as well. I know that he did see that game live against Creek, so I'm sure that he wasn't uber impressed, I guess, but also gave his run game defend a 3.5. Now, for me here, I think that he's just a bit raw in some regards to me. I think that his play recognition is definitely not where it needs to be. I think whether it's a confidence thing or whether it's a recognition thing, he just really doesn't attack in a few ways that I really want him to. So, yeah, that's sitting at a 2.9 for me. His jump ball contest is sitting at a 3 for me. And his run game defend is sitting at a 2.7. And his tackling is sitting at a 2.6. So I thought those were all a bit more on the mediocre side here, and I graded him a bit harshly for it. But like Coach V said, there's still a very clear athletic path to the next level here for JoJo here. Just talking about his senior season on the defensive side of the ball that kind of helped catch our eye. He recorded 35 tackles this year, 10 of those in that loss to Valor. But he also had a few interceptions, one against Fossil Ridge, 2 against Mullen, and then 1 against Fountain Fort Carson High School, and a couple of pass breakups as well. So if we jump over to JoJo's Twitter, because that is just seemingly always the place to be as far as learning what recruiting and whatnot is, we take a look at this. Also, shout out to JoJo for that 3.44 GPA. Got to be a good student, but we already talked about his speed, obviously, listed here at a 4.47. Pretty legit stuff, honestly. But as far as recruiting goes, it looks like he's been offered by CSU Pueblo. I do think that his talent, as well as Mississippi Valley State here, that is a D1 offer. That's what we're talking about because his athleticism is that next level. He's just a bit raw, I would say, in some of the more nuanced cornerback and play recognition stuff. But, I mean, he's getting some decent looks. He has South Dakota mines as well. And it looks like he made it out to a K-State camp as well. It's just, you got to take a gamble on this athleticism, and it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. Don't let one of these D2 schools like Colorado Mesa swoop and then end up with another potential freshman of the year candidate. Look, as far as his upside as well on offense goes, that's another huge reason to recruit this guy. And I just think that some of these D1 schools are going to miss out if they do not offer him here. But it's just kind of an uphill battle with the transfer portal being the way that it is. So D1 talent who might just have to wait his turn for that D1 opportunity. That is our number 5 cornerback, Jojo Hernandez out of Regis Jesuit at a PMC grade of 78.65. And with no rest, we're going to go right into our number 4 cornerback here of the class of 2025. And we are going to stay in Aurora, actually, and head over to Grandview High School and talk about Zay Nito here, the wide receiver defensive back out of Grandview here, who had himself a pretty solid season on the defensive side of the football here. 21 tackles as well as 2 picks and a couple of pass deflections this past season, but he was getting looks at that in the prior season as well, where he had 12 tackles and a pass breakup as well. But he's also a very good wide receiver. You may or may not be hearing his name in another episode down the road, but he is our number 4 cornerback of the class of 2025 with a cumulative PMC grade of 80.33, so just barely breaking in to that 3-star kind of profile here. Mason has him graded at a 79.8, and then Coach V and I seeing completely eye to eye. We get there in a little bit of a different way, but we both see eye to eye as far as an 80.6 overall grade. So when we talk about him here, Mason is sold as far as he likes him better at receiver, but he likes his ability to move side to side. He likes his IQ of where the ball should be, and he can definitely compete at cornerback anywhere he goes, is kind of what Mason is saying here. Some of his higher grades here include his agility at an 8.4, his man-to-man at an 8.5. That is one of the higher man-to-man grades of anybody, and 4.5 at play recognition, which is Mason's highest grade of play recognition. He also has 4.2 jump ball contest, 4.1 ball skills, and 4.2 leverage. So just really likes the ability to stick to some of these receivers here, and those are some of the grades that he definitely favored. As for Coach V here, some of his more favorite aspects, or some of his higher graded aspects, I should say, his agility, 8.5. He gave Zay's man-to-man an 8.5, which is tied for the second highest of anybody on this list. 4.35 play recognition, 4.3 jump ball contest, 4.25 ball skills, 4.1 leverage. These are all out of 5, those ones that I just read. So those all roughly translate to 8.5 scores here. Pass breakup at a 4 here. For Coach V, he said, quote, he is a standout receiver, but he has put together some good film at corner as well. I like his footwork a lot, and you can tell he has a high IQ when it comes to passing plays, as he is in the right place 9 times out of 10 and is able to make a play. His agility and IQ are definitely his strengths, and he puts receivers in tough spots and knows how to contest passes in the cleanest way possible, end quote. So that's kind of the positive side of Zay from those guys here. For me, his versatility and agility were both very high for me. 8.4, 8.5, 8.1 speed. I gave him an 8.6 in man-to-man coverage, which is actually the highest man-to-man coverage of anybody who made the list, actually. And then these categories out of 5, 4.2 play rec, 4.1 jump ball, 4 ball skills, 4 leverage, 4.25 run game defend. I like the way that he gets off of blocks. I understand that there's maybe going to be limitations at his current frame if he doesn't get bigger at that. But I think that his play recognition helps him become a pretty good run defender here. He also takes turns absolutely locking up some great receivers. He locks up an Eagle Crest receiver, just puts him in an absolute prison on this here. He locks up Jeremiah Hoffman in a couple of plays. He's just a very physical man coverage corner who can bump and run and play with incredible leverage here. And he just does a good job getting back. He's agile. He changes directions here, and he's a pretty good run defender at corner as well, in my opinion. Gave him a 4.25, like I said, in that category here. So I think that his knowledge of route running helps him on this side of the football quite a bit, honestly. And that translates very, very well from his receiver knowledge to this side. So that's kind of the gist on Zay here out of Grandview as far as positives. But as far as some things that he can work on here, he's definitely not nearly as fast as Jojo Hernandez is, and that is something that's going to hurt him. He's also a bit smaller here, 5'11", 170. So he's a bit lighter. I gave his frame a 7.2. It was one of his lowest categories. While I think he's a good run defender as far as reacting and reading and forcing the issue against wide receivers, his tackling could use some work. He's at a 3.6 here. He's kind of in the middle of the pack as far as tacklers. None of these corners are like game-breaking tacklers. And I don't think that his zone coverage game is really as sharpened out. I gave him a 7.4 in zone coverage. He's somebody who could potentially get lost in the zone, I think. Versus man-to-man, he's going to be very sticky, and he's going to hold on to these receivers here. And then I give his pass breakup a 3.95. I mean, that's like almost a 4. So I wouldn't even say it's like a crazy hard thing to really work on here. Now for Mason, just kind of jumping around here, he gave his run game defend a 3.3. That's more in line here. And 3.5 on tackling. His frame, he gave a 7.5. His zone coverage, he gave a 7.5. So those are some things that he wants him to work on. He says that he could use some work on a straight line speed and can use a bit of size. So that's why, Mason kind of has him slotted more in that 2-star kind of D2-ish kind of look as far as a cornerback goes. But he could definitely compete at cornerback wherever he decides to go is what Mason is saying. And then for Simon here, he says kind of the same thing. He says he's not the fastest straight line speed-wise guy, but, he makes up for it in other spots. But on the next level, because of his frame and straight line speed, he's more likely to be a slot corner, which does limit his versatility. I gave his versatility still kind of a decent grade just because of his ability to be on both sides of the ball, pretty impactful. But Simon is kind of like D2 corner, maybe a bit of a project on the FCS level is kind of the outlook here on Zay here. But Zay is currently committed right now to Garden City Community College. Shout out to Garden City. We've seen some guys go there, and we think that this is actually a great idea. I mean, this is just really, really recent, honestly. But, there was a ruling that JUCO does not count towards your NCAA eligibility. So that is actually huge news. This gives him a year to get a bit bigger, refine his game in whatever way he sees fit. And congratulations. We've seen this guy for a very long time. I want to say that we knew about him coming out of middle school. If I remember correctly, we're starting to get to that age where, maybe we're kind of sounding like boomers here, but Zay here, it's been all love from our side here. He likes to give us a little bit of a hard time anytime those Grandview season previews come out, which he doesn't have to worry about anymore. But, we're very excited for where his football career is going to go. And, we think he's a great talent that any college would be lucky to have. And he's going to put in some serious work. So that is our number 4 cornerback of the class of 2025, graded at an overall 80.33333, repeating Zay Nito out of Grandview, committed to Garden City Community College. Best of luck there, and as always, feel free to hit us up. And that brings us to the midway point here as we get to the number 3 cornerback in the class of 2025, and that is going to be Broomfield/state champion here, Mikhail Benner, the 6-foot, 185-pound cornerback, like I said, out of Broomfield High School here. He's been getting some serious snaps, definitely since his sophomore year here, and he is committed to Air Force right now. So he graded off at an overall of 80.933, edging out Zay for this spot by 0.6 points here, between a grade of 80.4 for me, 80.6 for Mason, and 81.8 for Simon. I'm going to just go over Simon's entire Mikhail Benner synopsis and just do that as we go along. So Mikhail here graded very high in versatility at 8.5, 8.6 agility, 8.7 speed, 8.5 zone coverage, 4 tackling, 4.1 anticipation, 4.5 ball skills, 4.2 play recognition, jump ball contest 4.3, and 4.2 pass breakup. Those are all of the like 3-star categories that he got. And Simon said, quote, he's always been a very good zone corner who had great ball skills. I think a lot of the turnovers he had were because he was so good at anticipating and making the most out of dangerous passes. If given the chance, he has shown that he can intercept most passes, and I do think he has the best ball skills in the state. My critique in him does lie in his man-to-man defense. I just don't think it is as good as other corners. I think he gives up leverage way too often, and for me that stems from inconsistency in his footwork. He's agile enough to play corner on the next level and break on passes, but he's not as disciplined as other corners in the state, and it needs some refining. Like I said, I think his man-to-man defense needs some work, but that's not the worst critique considering he has some other elite qualities. End quote. So that's Coach V's entire synopsis here. His man-to-man did grade out at a 7.7, his leverage graded out at a 3, and his run game defend graded out at a 3.5. And part of that, I think, just like from what Coach V kind of alluded to, has to do with discipline a little bit. I mean, I kind of hit him in the same categories, 7.6 on man-to-man defense and 2.9 on leverage. That's actually the lowest leverage grade of any corner who made the top 5 for me. And, I think that, the stats don't lie. He earned his reputation as a ball hawk. He has a magnet and instinct for the ball that, just might get him stuck on the offensive side if he wasn't going to Air Force because they don't throw the ball. But, defensively, this guy did have an incredible season sophomore year with 11 interceptions, and they stopped targeting him as much. 2 interceptions his junior year, 3 interceptions his senior year, and 19 pass deflections over those 3 years, right? He just has a knack for causing issues for opposing teams here. But like Coach V said, that lack of discipline and that lack of, almost to me, focus a little bit kind of hurts him in man-to-man. I think that his agility is fine. I have it graded at a 7.7, so one of his lower ones, and I have his versatility at 7.9. I think he could play safety on the next level, honestly, and excel at it. But his lack of man-to-man focus, discipline, ability, whatever you want to chalk it up to, does need to be improved on for the next level. But that being said, to talk about the things that I enjoy about his game, I gave his zone coverage a 9. That is the highest out of anybody on this out of any of the corners that I evaluated by a pretty significant margin. The next closest guys were like JoJo had an 8.6, and that's basically it. So Mikhail Benner is head and shoulders above the rest of the state as far as that goes. I gave him a 4.3 play recognition. I gave him a 4.4 jump ball contest, especially at that 6-foot frame. He's got some long arms too, so he's able to make taller receivers really work for the ball. And then I gave him a 4.7 on ball skills. I think his ball skills are absolutely incredible. I got to echo what Simon said. He gave his ball skills a 4.5. Mikhail's are the highest that I graded out of anybody in this entire class. So he has traits that put him, like I said, head and shoulders above everybody else in the class, but he has got to work on his man coverage a pretty decent amount. Mason agreed here. He's got a 7.5 for man. He's got 2.8 for leverage. Those are categories he didn't exactly love here. But, he did say, quote, overall super solid after watching him in the state championship. He's a solid run stopper and can make a break on the ball in like no time at all. I like his ability to make big plays. He could use some work on his man-to-man coverages. He's not the best, but not a liability either. Definitely a D1 guy, but probably a redshirt guy, end quote. So that's Mason's synopsis. Like I said, he gave some of those other categories, 2.8, 7.5. Those roughly check out to like 2-star-ish. But Mason also has a ton of 3-star upside here. He likes his versatility, 8.3, 8.4 agility, 8.5 speed. He gave his zone coverage an 8.5, his tackling the equivalent of an 8, his anticipation equivalent of an 8 with a 4 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5 there. Jump ball contest, 4.4. He loves his ability to get up there. His track ball skills, he gave a 4.3, which is really high. So Mason overall does like Mikhail Benner here at an 80.6, and we all like him here, and we're excited that he's going to stay in the state. I think that he's a pretty good scheme fit, honestly, for what Air Force has going on in that secondary. And, I think that maybe even going to the Air Force Academy could help out in that focus and that discipline in the man coverage and improve him, because there's just, structure and discipline and focus is kind of the MO of any of these military academy schools. And that is something that could honestly help his on field game potentially develop and blossom into a skill rather than, I don't even want to say a liability, but just not as strong of an area for him. So, congratulations on the commitment. Of course, we're rooting for all these guys that we talk about, honestly, and wish them nothing but the best. And especially because he gets to stay in state, pretty cool. So he's a 2-time state champ. Moving on to the college level, he's going on to Air Force, and we think he's going to do a pretty good job here. And that is Mikhail Benner at an 80.933 repeating PMC final grade. And now we are over the halfway point. We are on to our number 2 corner here, where we take a little bit of a jump in the points here, grading out at a cumulative 82.4666 repeating here, or an 82.47 to keep it simple, is Pine Creek's very own Elijah Roy here, who, like I said, graded out at an 82.46, and this 6'2", 165-pound cornerback looks like he is currently committed to the University of Northern Colorado. Go Bears, as Coach V and I would say, proud alumni here. And we're very excited for Elijah here. Coach V even talks about it a little bit in his synopsis of Elijah here. And I'm going to just go ahead and pass it off to him, saying, quote, "He plays both ways and even then gets moved around a lot from corner to safety. He's probably a receiver on the next level, but at DB, he has some tenacity and has the wingspan to cause issues for receivers on the next level. I think he struggles a bit more in zone than straight up man, which is more of a play recognition issue than any. If he does play defense, I think he could make a very interesting safety, having good man-to-man and zone skills. For him, I would want him to continue to put on weight and do his film work, but I legit think he can play corner on the FCS level," end quote. And he didn't touch on this, but we did cover his older brother back when he was at Pine Creek. Shout out JoJo there. Yeah, it's been awesome being able to kind of watch the Roys kind of do their thing and have kind of just that, that story that we've been able to cover. It's been pretty awesome. And so for Simon here, he gave Roy very, very high praise here. 9 on versatility, making him the most versatile player outside of tied with JoJo Hernandez in Coach V's top 5 here. His agility at an 8.5, his speed at an 8.5, his man-to-man at an 8.5, his ball skills at a 4.5, which roughly translates to a 9 if you even it out to at a 5 here. Jump ball contest, 4.25, 4.1 leverage, 4 run game defend, 4.1 pass game breakup. He is very happy with how well-rounded Elijah's game is. Like Coach V said, the play recognition, not the best. He has that graded at a 3.9. That is the lowest out of anybody in Coach V's top 5. And then anticipation, 3.8. And even his zone coverage, who he said could use some work, he still has at an 8, as well as his frame. 165 is pretty light, but when you look at Elijah Roy's build, just look at the cover of this episode. Bro has wings for sure, and it causes some issues when you watch his film. He's just able to get his hands and arms into places that they really don't belong in, honestly. And I have that a little bit reflected in my pass breakup category, where I gave him a 4.1, as did Mason. So we all gave Elijah a 4.1 on pass breakup. Mason also gave Elijah a 4.5 here. And in the ball skills category, he gave him an 8.5 in agility. He gave him a 9 in versatility. He gave him an 8.4 in speed, 8.4 in man, 8.1 in zone coverage. Mason was very, very impressed with Elijah Roy, giving him an overall score of 82.9, saying, quote, "This man is a do-it-all player. I think he is a better cornerback than receiver, and that's saying a lot because he is a high-rated receiver. I think he'd do either on the next level, but his hip fluidity and ability to make the right decisions, he should play cornerback. Dominant player overall. He can work on his tackling and anticipation a bit, but that can be solved in a redshirt season easily," end quote. So Mason also wants him to work on his anticipation. He has that graded at a 3.9, as well as the run game defend at a 3.9 and his tackling at a 3.9. Those were all of the lowest grades for Mason in those categories of 5. And he also gave his frame an 8 as well, because, 165 is just pretty light for a college player, and all of us recognize that. But Mason, overall, very, very impressed. I was also very, very impressed. He was my number 2 overall cornerback at an 81.35. I think that he just has great timing, and I kind of like his anticipation on initial pass breakups. That's, of course, kind of more in his man-to-man skills, I would say. But when he's rolled back at safety, he can land a decent hit, and he can kind of react here pretty well. The only thing I don't love is that he plays pretty tall, and I think that impacts his ability to tackle well and his run game defend. I gave his tackling a 3.3, I gave his run defend a 3.55, and I gave his leverage a 3.9. I just think that there's a way for him to just kind of play in a bit more of an athletic stance more of the time, and that's going to help him out a decent amount. I have his man and zone both in the 8s here. I have his play recognition at a 4.15. I have his jump ball contest at a 4.4. I think that's one of his best categories, especially at 6'2". You just don't get to see a lot of corners like that. And so that build, that height, and that wingspan is what really has me imagining the true nature and upside of Elijah Roy as a cornerback prospect. I also like his versatility. I gave it an 8.7. I gave his speed an 8.6. He's quick. He's fast. He just plays hard, honestly. And with his pass breakup, like I said, also at a 4.1, that gets him an 81.35 from me, an 82.9 from Mason, and an 83.15 from Simon for a cumulative 82.466. Like we said, he's committed to UNCO right now, and everything is looking pretty swimmingly for our number 2 cornerback of the class of 2025, Elijah Roy. Go Bears! And up next, we have our number 1 corner, but I'm going to make you hold off here and go over the full grades of our 5 through 2 here for everybody here. Just bang them out. Out of 10, Mason gave JoJo Hernandez an 8 on frame, 8.6 on versatility, 8.7 on agility, 8.6 on speed, 7.5 on man, and 8.7 on zone. And then out of 5, 3.1 tackling, 4 anticipation, 3.8 play recognition, 2.9 jump ball contest, 4.2 ball skills, 3.9 leverage, 3.5 run game defend, 3.7 pass game breakup. That is a 79.2 for Mason. Now for myself, the categories out of 10, 8.3 frame, 8.5 versatility, 8.5 agility, 8.9 speed, 7.2 man, 8.6 zone, and then out of 5, 2.6 tackling, 3.95 anticipation, 2.9 play rec, 3 jump ball, 3.8 ball skills, 3.3 leverage, 2.7 run game, and 4 out of 5 pass breakup for a 76.25. Coach V here, 4 out of 10, gave an 8 on frame, 9 versatility, 8.7 agility, 8.6 speed, 8 man-to-man, 8.7 zone coverage, and out of 5, 3 tackling, 4.25 anticipation, 4 play rec, 3 jump ball, 4.25 ball skill, 3.8 leverage, 3.5 run game, and 3.7 out of 5 for an 80.5 overall on JoJo. For our number 4 corner, Zay here had a 7.5 out of 10 from Coach V on frame, 8 out of 10 versatility, 8.5 agility, 8 speed, 8.5 man-to-man, and 7.7 zone. And then 3.7 out of 5 for tackling, 4.3 anticipation, 4.35 play rec, 4.3 jump ball, 4.25 ball skills, 4.1 leverage, 3.4 run game defend, 4 pass breakup. For myself on Zay, 7.2, 8.4, 8.5, 8.1, 8.6, and 7.4 were my categories out of 10, which was frame, versatility, agility, speed, man-to-man, and zone in that order. And then out of 5, he scored a 3.6 tackling, 4.3 anticipation, 4.2 play rec, 4.1 jump ball, 4 ball skills, 4 leverage, 4.25 run game, and 3.95 pass breakup for an 80.6. And for Mason here, out of 10 was 7.5 frame, versatility 8, agility 8.4, speed 8, man-to-man 8.5, zone coverage 7.5, Tackling, 3.5 out of 5. Anticipation, 4.2. Play rec, 4.5. Jump ball, 4.2. 4.1 ball skills. Leverage, 4.2. Run game defend, 3.3. Pass breakup, 3.9 for 79.8. And overall, 80.33. Mikhail Benner here for Mason in the categories out of 10. 8 for frame, 8.3 versatility, 8.4 agility, 8.5 speed, 7.5 man-to-man, 8.5 zone coverage, 4 tackling, 4 anticipation, 4.3 play rec, 4.4 jump ball contest, 4.3 ball skills, 2.8 leverage, 3.6 run game defend, 4 pass breakup. For myself, out of 10, Mikhail, 8.5 frame, 7.9 versatility, 7.7 agility, 8 speed, 7.6 man-to-man, 9 zone coverage, 3.7 tackling, 4.4 anticipation, play rec, 4.3, 4.4 jump ball, 4.7 ball skills, 2.9 leverage, 3.3 run game defend, and 4 pass breakup in the categories of 5. And for Coach V, frame, 8 out of 10, versatility, 8.5 out of 10, agility, 8.6, speed, 8.7, man-to-man, 7.7, zone coverage, 8.5, and then out of 5, tackling, 4, anticipation, 4.1, play rec, 4.2, jump ball contest, 4.3, ball skills, 4.5, leverage, 3, run game defend, 3.5, pass breakup, 4.2 for an 81.8 score. And finally, our number 2 cornerbacks categories are an 8 out of 10 frame, 9 out of 10 versatility, 8.5 agility, 8.5 speed, 8.5 man-to-man, 8 zone coverage, 4 out of 5 tackling, 3.8 out of 5 anticipation, 3.9 play rec, 4.25 jump ball, 4.5 ball skills, 4.1 leverage, 4 run game defend, and 4.1 pass breakup for Coach V's grades on Elijah Roy. My thoughts on Elijah Roy were 7.7 frame, 8.9 versatility, 8.1 agility, 8.6 speed, 8.1 man-to-man, 8.2 zone coverage for those categories out of 10. And then out of 5, 3.3 tackling, 4.3 anticipation, 4.15 play rec, 4.4 jump ball contest, 4.05 ball skills, 3.9 leverage, 3.55 run game defend, and 4.1 pass breakup. And for Mason, frame, 8, versatility, 9, agility, 8.5, speed, 8.4, man-to-man, 8.4, zone coverage, 8.1. Those are all out of 10 for Elijah. And then 3.9 tackling, 3.9 anticipation, 4 play rec, 4.2 jump ball, 4.5 ball skills, 4 leverage, 3.9 run game defend, 4.1 pass breakup. Woo! So those are all of the full rubrics for our guys 5 through 2. We also had some honorable mentions here as far as who we watched film of. The next guy off the list was Tyson Watson out of Arapahoe at a cumulative 78.233. Jai Winston, sorry for mispronouncing that, but out of Denver East was at a 78.21. Maxwell Rayton and Sony Donate here were both in the 77s. They were out of Rampart and Mullen, respectively. Wyatt Keegan out of Fairview, somebody I took a look at. I got him at a 75.4. Tremont Shaw out of Fountain Fort Carson, graded at a 75.18. Trayvon Polk out of Creek, graded at a 75.1833. Devin Salbeski out of Westminster, graded at a 75 for me. 74.2 for Bryce Bailey, 72.7 for Jameer Ford, and 71.1 for Bryant Wintwright. And Chase Williams, developmental guy, just a little undersized out of Denver East. So those are all the honorable mentions. So shout out to all those guys. Shout out to numbers 5 through 2 for a pretty fun cornerback class. And I think that our rubrics treated us pretty well, but still landed us all collectively at the same conclusion. And that conclusion is that Cherokee Trail's very own Marquise Jamison is your number 1 cornerback in the class of 2025. His senior year included 28 tackles, 4 of those being for loss, a sack, and 2 interceptions, as well as 8 pass breakups and a forced/recovered fumble here for the Cougars. This, shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. If you've been following us for a while here, you know that Cherokee Trail is like that as far as producing these cornerbacks here. Shout out to whoever that secondaries coach is. And, he does a pretty good job here, and Marquise Jamison is a part of that as well. So let's go ahead and talk about some of his grades here For Mason, he landed at an 84.9. For me, an 82.15. And for Simon at an 85.15 for a cumulative grade of 84.07 once you round up that last decimal. So let's start on the high end here with Simon, who says, quote, he is one of the best corners we've seen in a long while. Marquise is much closer to the national average height of a corner at 6'1", but he also has explosiveness and speed to go with that. He's an aggressive corner in all aspects of the game, and you can rely on him to shut down his player/side of the field. If he's not slamming a receiver to dislodge the ball, he's picking off the ball. Having played receiver has helped show off his ball skills as well, and I think he's somebody who could contribute on the other side of the ball on the D2 level at the very least. On the defensive side, he is a D1 corner, no doubt. While I like how he plays the run, I would like to see him put on weight and maybe get to 190-pound playing weight. If he can do that, he would be in a great spot. Other nitpicky things is that I want him to continue to refine his leverage and not get too aggressive in the way he plays the ball. There are times where he gives up great leverage to go for turnovers and will then close the space for pass deflections. While that works on this level, there will be stronger receivers in college, and he cannot afford to gamble this much on that level, end quote. So, Coach V's categories, I'm just going to go through all of them as we go through this. He gave Marquise a 8.1 on frame. He gave him an 8.2 on versatility. He gave him a 9.1 agility, 9 speed, 4.1 tackling, 4.6 anticipation, 8.6 man-to-man, 8.2 zone, 4.2 play recognition, 4 jump ball contest, 4.25 ball skills, 4 leverage, 4.2 run game defend, and 4.6 pass breakup. So that lands you at an 85.15, and like Coach V said, one of his favorite cornerback prospects that we've got to look at. For me, some of the notes that I had while watching his film, he showed great ball skills on the very first one of his pick six. I like his active feet, and his backpedaling is pretty quick and covers a lot of ground here. He obviously shows some chops at wide receiver with a double move, and then he reads plays very well in the run game defend. He's not as much of a liability. He has a good way of shedding blocks and not getting pushed around. He also has a little bit of a thump to him, just in certain cases, so his tackling grade is kind of middle of the pack for me. I think he's a solid hitter, good coverage guy who will contend passes that maybe he doesn't even have any business contending, but he plays zone very well, and he understands watching receivers' eyes and not letting anything behind him, but he almost gets caught looking on a post, where, like Coach V said, he's kind of cheating up, he's kind of gambling. It doesn't end in the worst case scenario, but it definitely could have. And so when I go through my grades here, 8.1 frame, 8.5 versatility, 8.5 agility, 8.6 speed, these are all amongst the highest of everybody in this class. 3.4 tackling, 4 anticipation, 8.3 man-to-man, 8.5 zone. I think that he is the best combination of both types of coverages that you could possibly ask for in this class. Play recognition, 3.8. That's mainly him just kind of gambling. I'm kind of punishing him for his aggressiveness just a little bit here because it almost costs him when he gets caught looking. But 4.2 jump ball contest, 4.5 ball skills. That's the second highest of anybody here. Leverage, 3.75. He can lose it sometimes, but when he's locked in, it's great leverage. 3.6 run defend. That is the second highest out of everybody on this list. And 4.4 pass breakup. That is the highest of anybody in my top 5 for an overall 82.15 here. And honestly, I'm going to update this in real time. His speed is a 9. I don't know what that was about. So really, he's at an 82.55, and that bumps up his overall grade to an 84.2 solid. And I love doing these real-time updates. But yeah, I am surprised that he does not have more looks or more calls right now. This guy is an absolute stud. He is one of the best cornerback prospects that we have seen on this show, and that is even further echoed by Mason here, who gives him some pretty good grades here. So Mason, in his grades, gave him a grade of an 84.9. He said, overall, a stout defender who has great hands. He can truly go up and get the ball, as well as his recognition shows in how he reacts to plays. He's not afraid of contact. He doesn't break down for some hits. And as a defensive coordinator, that irks me a little bit overall. The most solid cornerback I've seen so far in this class. So his tackling still gets out of 4, and his run game defense still gets out of 4.3 for Mason, but he does see room for improvement. As far as other categories go, 8.1 frame, 8 versatility, 9.2 agility, 9 speed, 4 tackling, 4.5 anticipation, 8.5 man-to-man, 8.1 zone, 4.3 play rec, 4.1 jump ball, 4.3 ball skills, 3.9 leverage, 4.3 run game defend, and 4.6 pass breakup for an 84.9. Once again, for him, that breaks down to an 84.2 overall PMC grade. And yeah, this guy is a must-have prospect. You got to watch his film. You got to be able to check him out. He's undecided right now. So this is the time. This is the time to come check him out and get a good cornerback who's kind of ready to go, honestly. I think that he's somebody who, on like the D2 level, could definitely compete for starting snaps off rip. But he's a guy that he is a D1 talent, and he's somebody who I kind of wouldn't be afraid to put in there if I absolutely had to. If you had some injuries, I think that he's ready to go. Obviously, it'd be nice for him to just put on a little bit more weight and to just hopefully in a position where he's a freshman coming in, he's not playing or gambling as aggressively, and he's playing comfortably. And that kind of hopefully evens out his skill tree a little bit and the zone coverage capabilities that he is known for and can do. So that is Jameson out of Cherokee Trail. Absolute stud. Cannot say enough good things about this guy. Obviously, the film speaks for itself. The grades speak for themselves. But the fact that he's the only guy on this list who doesn't have offers flooded all over his page or is not committed, that's a problem. So get on the line, get a hold of this cat over here at Cherokee Trail, and get him an offer now. And so that will do it for our list here. As a reminder, number 5 cornerback, Jojo Hernandez of Regis Jesuit, currently uncommitted. Number 4 cornerback, Zay Nito, committed to Garden City. Number 3 cornerback, Mikhail Benner, committed to Air Force. Number 2 cornerback, committed to Unco, is Elijah Roy. And our number 1 cornerback of the class of 2025 is Marquise Jameson. The scores of these guys go Jameson 84.2, Roy 82.47, Benner 80.9, Nito 80.33, and Hernandez 78.65. That'll do it for this episode of the Playmakers Corner podcast. Be sure to follow us anywhere that you listen to podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube as well, where we're going to be moving a ton of our content. So be sure to check all of those places out. Turn on notifications, follow, notify, whatever you have to do to be in the loop for us. That could also include following us on social media. Playmakers Corner on Facebook, Playmakers Corner on the Twitter/X, on Instagram. What you need, we got it. We're here to cover these athletes. We got a lot more top 5 coming out, so just stay tuned for all of that, and also be sure to stay tuned for a lot of our other stuff as far as women's and girls flag football coverage. I have been your host for this episode, your showrunner, I should say, Kodey Stoffer, accompanied by the grades of Mason Austin and Coach V, signing off. Peace out.